Hello and welcome to this review video of Roland's Miniature Reviews, and today we are talking about the Kings of War paperback rulebook. Let's look inside. Now, when we are talking about fantasy rule sets, the most played rule set is obviously the offering from Games Workshop. And the biggest contender for second place seems to be Kings of War by Mantic Games. Now, the rulebook is in paperback and comes in a total of, voila, almost 400 full color pages with basic rules to play your games, fantastic illustrations that show Mantic's miniatures and really highlight that you don't need to break the bank in order to play a fantasy game. What a lot of you will obviously have noticed is that the cost in fantasy games is not so much the individual unit price, but how many miniatures you need compared to what you are getting in a sci-fi war game. While the individual unit in fantasy may be cheaper, you will need so many of them and such a variety that you are ending up paying more than in a sci-fi game. Now, what you also have is the background of the Mantic fantasy world. And of course, as with many publications by Mantic, you also have army lists. So you only need this one book in order to play your game. So, and when we go through it, the whole rules from talking about getting started units and how every turn and every phase of every turn works, to the lore and the background is taking, you can see it, 58 pages. So the rules are not overly complicated. They are in fact quite straightforward, as with most Mantic game systems, the focus is not on having overly complicated or allegedly realistic rules, realistic in a fantasy world, and instead focus on getting people to play, getting people to build, paint, and use their miniatures much faster. And Mantic have also been one of the first to promote this kind of approach that the army painter is using for a couple of years now. Fun fact, this morning I ordered my first speed paints and I will be using them and review them for you in another video. Now, when we open a random page, here in this instance we are talking about different types of units, for example troops, regiments, hordes and legions. Look at how they are aligned on the movement trace, and overall you have almost on every single page you have this fantastic artwork showcasing what you can do with Mantic miniatures if you are one of the better painters in this world. I am not one of the greatest painters in the world, but I am looking forward to get my fantasy army started. I'm currently debating between the orcs that you can see here or Empire of Dust, and I am really, really tempted with the Empire of Dust. But looking at the orc boss on his steed here, it's called a Crudger on a winged slasher. I am really, really tempted. And orcs are possibly much faster to paint than Egyptian skeletons. And overall, what I can see from Mantic now that I am playing both their fantasy as well as their sci-fi game, the whole crew is really taking ownership of what they are working on. They really enjoy what they are doing, and they are not doing it primarily, or they don't appear to be doing it primarily because, there is a market and we can charge X amount of money for a certain game or a certain set of miniatures. Let's do that. There is a much clearer, much more consistent approach to gaming, if you might want to say. And having spoken to not only Ronnie, the boss at Mantic, but a couple of other people that work for them, I am really, really, convinced is probably the right word, that these people are doing what they want, or what they are doing because they want it. They want to produce a great game. They want people to have fun. And looking at how they are producing not only their miniatures, but the rule set itself, it is so much detailed, so much, it's a complete book of what you need, with so many examples of, this miniature looks good, why don't I start a Forces of Nature army, for example? Or, well, what is the equipment I should be using with the Depth Horror Eternal? Now I can really see, and here is the Empire of Dust army, and you can see it's especially the Skeleton Spearmen that I'm thinking, wow, these look amazing, and the Ammonite Pharaoh. So yeah, really a great show and showcase of these miniatures. And when you think back to Mantic's origins, the elves were a product they sold for years before any other product came out. And I am ashamed to say that I actually bought some elves when they came out, and to this day I have not touched them. I have not touched them with my brush. I have built a couple, but only God knows where those elves are right now. But I do remember the discussion about Mantic elves compared to the offering of another very popular war game, and the verdict was that the other ones look better. And I'm like, well, wait a second. Elves are supposed to be these very slender being, like Mantic is depicting them, not like these slightly overweight, globs of plastic, as they have as I saw them compared to the ones Mantic was offering. But tastes are different, and not everyone will like the elves here. Not everyone will like the rules that Mantic is offering. But overall, and having gone through this book once or twice already, the only thing I can come up with that I don't like at this moment in time is, Ronnie, this book should be a hardback. If this book was a hardback, I am confident to say this would be perfect. On to more gaming, and see you in the next video.